Our mental health is important. By looking after it, we can feel happier, more positive, and better equipped to get the most out of life. Research shows there are 5 simple things we can do as part of our daily lives to boost our mental health and well-being. These are called the 5 keys to well-being. Connect with those around you, with family, friends, colleagues and neighbours. Look to spend meaningful time with people each day. Instead of sending an email, talk to someone. Speak to someone new. Ask how someone's weekend was and really listen when they tell you. Arrange a catch-up with friends. Join a club or group of people who share a common interest. Put 5 minutes aside to find out how someone really is. Think of these connections as the cornerstone of your life and invest time in developing and strengthening them. Building these connections will support and enrich you every day. Be active. Look for ways to be active every day. Go for a walk or a run. Step outside. Stretch. Cycle. Play a game. Do some gardening. Dance. Most importantly, discover a physical activity you enjoy and that suits your level of mobility and fitness. Being active every day causes changes in our brain, which can positively affect our mood. Exercising makes you feel good. Take notice. To take notice is to be present in the here and now. Pay attention to the world around you, nature, people, your thoughts and feelings. Be curious. Catch sight of the beautiful. Remark on the unusual. Notice the changing seasons. Savour the moment. Becoming more aware of the present moment reflects on your experiences and help you appreciate what matters to you. Keep learning. Keep learning is about learning new skills and information about topics that interest you. We can keep learning by finding something new, rediscovering an old interest, signing up for a course, fixing a bug, taking on a new responsibility at work, learning to play a musical instrument, trying a new recipe. Set a challenge you enjoy achieving. Learning can make you more confident and boost your self-esteem. It can also
Walking up home. It didn't come out square, it came out circle.
give. Giving is about small acts of kindness for other people, whether that be your time, patience, words, or a smile. The smallest act can count. Do something nice for a friend or a stranger. Thank someone. make someone a cup of tea. Sign up for volunteering. Donate to charity. Offer to help someone with a project. Ask a friend or someone you work with how they are and really listen to the answer. Giving back to others can create positive feelings and help us feel more satisfied with life. Seeing yourself and your happiness as linked to the wider community can be incredibly rewarding and create connections with the people around you.
What are the main aspects of child well-being?
Child well-being is normally understood as multidimensional. What affects children's lives is not one aspect of it, like their relationships with their parents or their friends, but also how healthy they are, how well they're doing at school, what their material circumstances are. So we tend to take account of these different dimensions when we're trying to conceptualize child well-being.
Which theory is used to illustrate the main aspects of child well-being?
A very influential idea has been Bronfenbrenner's ecological perspective, which suggests the child is at the center of a series of concentric circles, with the first circle being their family, the next circle, a bit further away, being their neighborhood, their environment, school, and then society, and its influences on the outer circle.
This theory suggests that all ecological circles influence life accordingly. A change in one circle will cause a change in another. And the definition of well-being is based on this ecological approach. How is well-being measured?
We find measures of the material well-being of children, their income poverty rates, or the rate of deprivation, or how poor they feel, and we put them together and we use them to measure material well-being. And we do that for the same thing for a number of other things. So there's indicators of health,
You know what, GC?
certain indicators on
I'm gonna leave you alone.
entertainment, participation,
Girl, you throw some syrup on and cut that thing in half, you'll be just fine.
family and peer relationships, certain indicators on housing, and often resistant indicators on risk behaviours like smoking, drinking, crime, violence, bullying.
All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the broadcast entitled For the Love Ministries, entitled Children's Well-Being, Mental Health, Mental Stability, Mental Illness, all these different aspects. For the last 2 weeks, we've been talking about the children's well-being. The first week, I gave you some content. Last week, I talked about underlying conditions in terms of asthma and diabetes. This week, we're going to wrap up this series, and also, too, while I'm doing this presentation this afternoon, I'm going to kind of touch bases about COVID-19 as well as the vaccine that are being issued now for 12 and 17-year-olds. Well, 12 to 17 years old, but that'll be at the end of this webinar. So let me go ahead and share my screen and get started. So we're going to first talk about today is autism and give you some background history on that, because I feel that those who are dealing with those who don't know anything about it should get educated and informed by that today. So here we go. Autism. Helping your child with autism thrive. There are many things you can do to help a child with autism syndrome disorder, AESD, overcome their challenges. These parenting tips, treatments, and services can help. Okay. A parent guide to autism and treatment support. So, of course, those who have autism in any any other type of underlying condition needs support. And support is very important, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to tell you why it's important, because the resources that you are getting, hold on, everybody. Hello, speaking. All right, back to broadcasting, everybody. So, back to autism. Like I said, support. Support is very much well necessary when you're dealing with these different elements, everybody. And when I tell you the support is needed, the resources, the information you get, and learning about it. And before I get any further, I want to just give you a quick understanding about what autism is, because most people don't know what that is. And I don't want you to come into the broadcast like, what is this, Remarkable? What is this autism all about? It's a short video, hopefully. Sure. And you've seen advertisements on the news or on TV, social media, or like billboards all over. So I just kind of want to give you a short video regarding what autism is before we go any further. Something just kind of telling me I need to do that for everybody on this platform. Go ahead and show you a quick video real quick, everybody. Real quick.
Autism. What if I told you some people may have autism, but they don't look different to anyone else? What if I told you it was a hidden illness? Sure, it may sound a bit scary, but on the whole, it's not a bad thing. It's just that nobody really knows what it's about. Most people seem to think that autism is caused by a defect on a genetic level. But in reality, scientists don't know what the cause is. There have been many arguments and theories about this, but all we can really say is that some people suffer from a disorder of neural development, and these people are known as autistics. Autistics are normal people. They eat, they sleep, they can be happy, and they can be sad. The only difference is that they sometimes think, talk, and act in a particular way, and piece together everyday activities in a certain manner. The problem is, autism is a massive spectrum, and behavior can range from the very odd to the very, very brilliant, with lots and lots of different types in between. And it's because of this massive spectrum of behavior that it can be hard to understand who has autism, what autism is, and how you should think about it. Some people get scared, some people give funny looks, and some people are just mean. But it's important to remember that autism doesn't change a person. It's just that sometimes it makes them feel, but they're okay with that. Because autism is part of them. They live with it every day, and they live completely normal lives. Life is like one big show. Everyone has different parts, but we're all in the same play. Autistic people don't want to be treated as special or crazy. They just want to be treated like everyone else. Because when it comes down to it, they're just a little different. And when you think about it, we're all a little different.
Okay, everybody, I wanted to kind of give you background history about what autism is, to kind of give you a little understanding of what it is regarding children and how do they deal with and cope with that. So we're going to go back into the concept about uh, the support. and how is it very important to get resources and have support groups to kind of help you if you don't understand what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, everybody, again, and go back to the place that we were at. We're not going to be on this broadcast too long today, so I'm pushing for maybe 1:45. So I have to come back and talk about the vaccine as well as COVID-19 and how it has kind of kind of shift the kids' mindset. So here's something here that we can kind of talk about. A parent's guide to autism treatment and support. If you recently learned that children have or might have autism spectrum disorder, you're probably wondering and worried about what comes next. No parent is ever prepared to hear that a child is anything other than happy and healthy. An ADS diagnosis can be particularly frightening. You may also be unsure about how to best help your child or confused by conflicting treatment advice. Or you may have been told that ASD is incredibly lifelong condition, leaving you concerned that nothing you do will make a difference. Okay, so we're going to go down here and get a little bit more information. Don't wait for diagnosis. So if you suspect something is not quite right with your child, I'm going to go ahead. If you feel that there's something that's not quite right with your child, seek help immediately. Don't wait. Get treatment. Really seek help. If you suspect it, get the help, get the answers, get the questions that you need. No question is stupid. No question is dumb. If you need to know what's really going on with your child, get the answers. Get them evaluated. Get them diagnosed to find out what's really going on. Because mentally, that's driving that child or children in a complete wild and it's driving you completely insane trying to figure out what's wrong with your child. You're thinking this is what the diagnosis is, but actually that's what's really going on with your children. So here's some things here that I want to share with you all. When your child has autism, okay, after you went through the evaluation, as you went to get resources and more information on how to better understand, first and foremost, learn about autism. Become an expert on your child. Be that advocate. Be that front. Get support people. Get in contact with these organizations out there that can help you give you a better understanding on what to expect when dealing with a child or children with autism. Accept your child's squeak, queers, and all. Because with a child who has autism, they need as much support mentally, physically, and spiritually while they're going through these obstacles. And don't give up. It can be frustrating. It can be challenging. Any time you have a child that has autism or any type of underlying condition, and I talk about that frequently because children have emotions and feelings that they don't know how to articulate or don't know how to put it into words to explain what they're feeling because it's a very difficult and challenging stage in their life. And it's hard for them to open up and share these things. Okay? So the next thing it says, help your child with autism thrive tips. Provide structural safety. Learning all you can about autism, getting involved in treatments will go a long way towards helping your child. Additionally, the following tips will make daily home life easier for both you and your child with ASD. Be consistent. Number one, stick onto a schedule. Reward good behavior. Create a home safe zone. The second tip is find nonverbal ways to connect. Look for nonverbal cues. Figure out the motivation behind the temper tantrum. Make time for fun. Pay attention to your child's sensitivity. Create a personal autism treatment plan. So this is a plan that they came up with. Build on your child's interests, offer a predictable schedule, teach tasks as a series of simple steps, actively engage your child's attention in high structured activities, provide regular reinforcements of behavior, involve the parents. So what's being talked about is just giving you some day-to-day routines now. You're not going to always have happy days. You're not going to always have good days. But these are some of the tips that you can kind of implement into your daily routine. It's not going to always be rain, sun. It's not going to be always sunny and rain shine all the time. But if you can try your best and time to kind of pull yourself together, you have to really talk to yourself, parents. You really have to speak encouragement words of yourself and take a moment for yourself because you matter just as much as your child. When you get yourself together mentally and spiritually to deal with what you deal with because your health, your well being matters. That matters being an advocate and being that support system for your children or child that's going through autism. You have to take care of you to get your mind and get yourself prepared for what you're about to face each and every day dealing with a child with autism. It's a mental thing. You have to mentally be prepared. You have to mentally sit yourself down and ask yourself, are you okay? You have to sit here every morning, every day, every afternoon, every evening, ask yourself, how am I doing? What is it that I need to tune out and tune into myself to help me better understand? So what we're going to talk about is what are my child's strengths and their weaknesses? What behaviors are causing the most problems? What important skills is my child lacking? How does my child learn best through seeing, listening, or doing? What does my child enjoy, and how can these activities be used in treatments and bio learning? So these are some of the things you can kind of just use an example in terms of dealing with your child. But we're going back to the parent system on this topic. By you being the expert and being the advocate, you are basically saying, okay, I need to take a mental break because I can get mentally and physically and spiritually drained by dealing with this all the time. So parents and caregivers who are advocates of children with autism, or I don't know if you have one child that has it or multiple ones, you matter. And I'm stressing that very clearly in this webinar. You matter. Take some time out for you. 10, 15, put it in your phone. Set a time to get up in the morning and have you time. It can be a cup of coffee. It can be a glass of orange juice. It can be reading a newspaper. It can be watching a funny video. It can be reading affirmation. It can be cleaning. It can be cooking you a favorite meal for yourself in the morning time. Just as long as you have some self-care time for yourself before you have to deal with all day's routine, and make that a habit to spend time with yourself. In some scenarios, you may have to maneuver that a little bit. But as long as you get that in throughout that day, if you got to take 5 minutes to say, I need a minute, or you need 10, as long as you put that self care in your schedule to just breathe, say, okay, I'm going to give myself 5 minutes. I'm going to time it on my phone, or I'm going to time it on my watch. Say, I'm going to do 5 minutes to just do some breathing exercises. Just have some loose sometimes because you're going to need to regroup and rechannel your thoughts, whatever you experience. You're going to cry. You're going to be upset. You're going to be frustrated. That's all normal because you're releasing all those emotions and feelings that you have building inside, and you're releasing it out in the open to show I am not okay and I need help. It's all right to ask for help, parents. It's all right to ask for guidance. It's all right to reach out and touch someone and say, hey, I need a regroup, or I need something to refresh me, to replenish what I have poured out. When you are empty, you can't replenish anything else to anybody because you need to replenish some things for yourself. You need to fuel up, gear up, and get yourself together. And since I'm talking about that, make sure you tune in next Thursday at 1 p.m. because I'm going to be talking about parenting. I'm going to talk about women, I'm going to talk about males, I'm going to talk about elderly and how they're dealing with their mental well-being. So they'll be ending this series too. So make sure you tune in. I'm going to have a flyer put up later on this afternoon. So make sure you tune in because we're going to hit up a scenario. That's going to be an hour-long webinar on that particular topic. So finally, keep in mind that no matter what treatment plans as children you involve is vital to succeed. You can help your child get the most out of treatment by working hand in hand with the treatment team, learning thoroughly with therapy at home. This is why your well-being is essential. Choosing autistic treatments. So they have different treatment plans according to this. And what I want to do on this platform while I'm sitting here, I want to go a little bit deeper with autism and share this on the Love Ministries platform a little bit more. And I thought about this some months back. And by me introducing it to the platform, because most people may know about autism and many people don't know what this is. And I want to get a little bit more depth about a lot of the symptoms and the things that the kids have. And as we get further along in the months, I really want to bring that to the forefront. Children's well-being mental state is still going to be going on in the month of June, July, August, September, October, all through the end of December to give you an understanding about what the children's mental state look about. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with a time where I'll be doing the webinars on True Sawtooth 1000 as well as YouTube, where I can share this content with everybody. And there's also phone numbers and information I'll be sharing with you all later on down the line. But this information is vital and very informative, and it's giving you an understanding that, hey, this is serious and I need to really pay attention. So let's get back to this. So some of the autism therapists focus on reducing problematic problems, building communication and social skills, while others deal with sensitive and growing problems, motor skills, emotional skills, and food sensitivity. With so many choices, it is extremely important to do your research. Talking to an autism treatment expert and ask questions. Be kept in mind that you don't have to choose just one type of therapy. The goal of autism treatment should be treating your child uniquely, arranging symptoms and needed. This often requires a combination of treatment approaching that incorporates several different types of therapy. Common autism treatment includes behavior therapy, speech language therapy, play-based therapy, physical therapy, occupation therapy, and nutritional therapy. So there's different therapies that's out there. And since that's something I want to share, we'll be getting more depth with that next month and part 4 of the children's well-being. So that'll be tied into the why, which is mental stability. What is your current mental stability? So that'll be tied into that. It's a lot, but this is very important on this platform for us to understand what a lot of these things look like for our children, our guardians, grandkids, godkids, whatever the situation may be. But this is very, very informative information that I want to kind of put out there for everybody to be aware of, because this is going on every day, everybody. This is like the ongoing battle for those who suffer from this. And you ask yourself your question, like, how did it get through? It's hard. It's hard for them to manage. It's hard for them to function. But when they know they have support, and I keep bringing that support is very important when we're going through these obstacles. So the next tip is find help and support. And I talked about it early on in the broadcast that support is needed. If you need help, reach out. They have groups that you can probably, and tell them when you can probably find support groups in your local community. You can find support groups on social media. Just kind of type in what you're specifically looking for, what is the target help that you need. That way it can give you the answers and resources. And feel free to share some of the experience that you are experiencing. And when you open up, the good thing about support groups, you can open up, and they are a safe haven community where you can open up and share your emotions and feelings and feel comfortable that you have somebody who can relate to the things that you're experiencing. Okay. Respective care. Every parents need a break now and then. And for parents coping with additional stress of ASD, this is especially true in respiratory care, and other caregivers take over temporarily, giving you a break. So you may need somebody to come in and give you a break. More help. Individual and materially or family counseling. That's another thing to get from. And it says free U.S. government service for children with autism. So I'm going to get a little bit more in depth with that later on next month about that. But this is just some good information to talk about. I'm learning a lot about autism, and I wanted to share this on the platform as well. So I know about asthma and diabetes, but these two, autism and diabetes, excuse me, autism and this bipolar disorder, is some of the things we have to really pay attention to these things. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and scroll down, let you look at it a little bit. I'm actually going to take this and put this here so you can look at it a little bit further. Basically giving you an idea about what it looks like. Okay, what this really looks like and how to be more aware. Okay, everybody. And it has the know your children's rights. So this is some of the things that you should be aware of. IEP is an independent individual plan for your child. So if your child has like some type of disability, of course, that IEP will be implemented into the school. And it's like a 504 plan, a special plan. They kind of give them an evaluation on how to give your child special accommodations with certain things they may be dealing with. You may want to meet with the IEP person of the school, wherever your child go to school, and have that conversation with them to kind of say, okay, my son and daughter or my children need special accommodation because of this certain disability that they have, and make sure you have that all documented, and make sure you keep all your records intact. My son and daughter had an episode on this day, this time, at this moment. Document everything, doctor visits, meetings with school, anything that you feel that is very beneficial. Make sure you carry your binder or a folder. Keep up with all these records because you may need to come back and refer to these things later on down the line. Okay. All right, everybody, go ahead and stop sharing my screen. I'm getting ready to go into showing you another video, give you an illustration about what let's see what bipolar is, give you in children. So I want you to be informed and give you an understanding what this looks like, okay? So let me go ahead and do this for you real quick, and I'll be right back in just a moment if the video plays. It just went black. There we go.
The crazier the idea, the crazier the entrepreneur, the greater the upside.
All right, everybody.
What is bipolar disorder? The word bipolar means two extremes. For the many millions experiencing bipolar disorder around the world, life is split between two different realities, elation and depression. Although there are many variations of bipolar disorder, let's consider a couple. Type 1 has extreme highs alongside the lows, while Type 2 involves briefer, less extreme periods of elation, interspersed with long periods of depression. For someone seesawing between emotional states, it can feel impossible to find the balance necessary to lead a healthy life. Type 1's extreme highs are known as manic episodes, and they can make a person range from feeling irritable to invincible. But these euphoric episodes exceed ordinary feelings of joy, causing troubling symptoms like racing thoughts, sleeplessness, rapid speech, impulsive actions, and risky behaviors. Without treatment, these episodes become more frequent, intense, and take longer to subside. The depressed phase of bipolar disorder manifests in many ways: a low mood, dwindling interest in hobbies, changes in appetite, feeling worthless or excessively guilty, sleeping either too much or too little, restlessness or slowness, or persistent thoughts of suicide. Worldwide, about 1 to 3% of adults experience the broad range of symptoms that indicate bipolar disorder. Most of those people are functional, contributing members of society, and their lives, choices, and relationships aren't defined by the disorder. But still, for many, the consequences are serious. Illness can undermine educational and professional performance, relationships, financial security, and personal safety.
It is 1:15.
So what causes
You gotta go to class.
researchers think play is the brain's intricate wiring. Healthy brains maintain strong connections between neurons,
I tried.
thanks
Where
to
they
the
try
brain's
to-
continuous efforts to prune itself and unused or faulty neural connections.
You did try.
This process is important because our neural pathways serve as a map for everything we do. Using functional magnetic resonance imaging, scientists have discovered that the brain's pruning ability is disrupted in people with bipolar disorder. That means their neurons go haywire and create a network that's impossible to navigate. With only confusing signals as a guide, people with bipolar disorder develop abnormal thoughts and behaviors. Also, psychotic symptoms like disorganized speech and behavior, delusional thoughts, paranoia, and hallucinations can emerge during extreme phases of bipolar disorder. This is attributed to the overabundance of a neurotransmitter called dopamine. But despite these insights, we can't pin bipolar disorder down to a single cause. In reality, it's a complex problem. For example, the brain's amygdala is involved in thinking, long-term memory, and emotional processing. In this brain region, factors as varied as genetics and social trauma may create abnormalities and trigger the symptoms of bipolar disorder. The condition tends to run in families, so we do know that genetics have a lot to do with it. But that doesn't mean there's a single bipolar gene. In fact, the likelihood of developing bipolar disorder is driven by the interactions between many genes in a complicated recipe we're still trying to understand. The causes are complex, and consequently, diagnosing and living with bipolar disorder is a challenge. Despite this, the disorder is controllable. Certain medications like lithium can help manage risky thoughts and behaviors by stabilizing moods. These mood stabilizing medications work by decreasing abnormal activity in the brain, thereby strengthening the viable neural connections. Other frequently used medications include antipsychotics, which alter the effects of dopamine, and electroconvulsive therapy, which works like a carefully controlled seizure in the brain, is sometimes used as an emergency treatment. Some bipolar patients reject treatment because they're afraid it will dim their emotions and destroy their creativity. But modern psychiatry is actively trying to avoid that. Today, doctors work with patients on a case by case basis to administer a combination of treatments and therapies that allows them to live to their fullest possible potential. And beyond treatment, people with bipolar disorder can benefit from even simpler changes. Those include regular exercise, good sleep habits, and sobriety from drugs and alcohol, not to mention the acceptance and empathy of family and friends. Remember, bipolar disorder is a medical condition, not a person's fault or their whole identity. And it's something that can be controlled through a combination of medical treatments doing their work internally, friends and family fostering acceptance and understanding on the outside, and people with bipolar disorder empowering themselves to find balance in their lives.
Okay, everybody. So I gave you a little background history on bipolar disorder and kind of gave you a little history about what it looks like. So I'm going to ready to share my screen, everybody. Good afternoon for those who are tuning into this webinar today. So we're going to talk about this right here. So now what I'm sharing here is about bipolar disorder in children and teens. So the first question you see on the screen is, does your child go through extreme changes in moods and behavior? That's the question you should ask. And does your child get much more excited or much more irritable than other children? Do you notice that your child goes through cycles of extreme highs and lows more often than other children? Do these moods change affect how your child acts at school or at home? Some children and teens with these symptoms may have this bipolar disorder, a brain disorder that causes unusual shift in moods, energy, activity levels, and day-by-day functions. With treatments, children and teens with bipolar disorders can get better over time. So, what is bipolar disorder? So, I just showed a short video that kind of explains, but I'm going to go ahead and read this particular part here. Bipolar disorder is a mental disorder that causes people to experience noticeable, sometimes extreme changes in mood and behavior. Sometimes children with bipolar disorders feel very happy or up and are much more energetic and active than usual. This is called maniac episodes. Sometimes children with bipolar disorders feel very sad or down and much less active than usual. This is called depressive episode. So you see the two scenarios. Maniac episode means very energetic and active, and then it goes from high to low to the depressive episode where they're feeling sad and they're feeling less active than usual in these episodes. See how their mind is not properly absorbing day-to-day normal function, how it just goes from different mood swing, how it fluctuates. You see how it looks, everybody, just by reading. So maniac episodes and depressive episodes. Okay. So bipolar disorder, which used to be called maniac depressive illness or maniac depression, is not the same as the normal ups and downs every child goes through. The mood change in bipolar disorders are more extreme, often unprovoked, and accompanied by change in sleep, energy level, and ability to think clearly. Bipolar symptoms can make it hard for young people to perform well in school or to get along with friends and family members. Some children and teens with bipolar disorders may try to hurt themselves or attempt suicide. So what we see right here, ladies and gentlemen, is a clear evidence of the definition of bipolarness in children and teenagers and different behavior stacks. And that'll be tied into the next webinar we're going to be doing next month. I'm telling you, I want to give you so much information and I want you to be aware by these different behaviors. So if you ever experienced it or see somebody or know somebody or even experience it for yourself, you have an understanding about the different episodes or the things that are happening within children or a child. You already know the warning signs about, hey, this child has some type of form of bipolar disorder, because I saw this on the platform that you saw to 1000 on Facebook that was shared. So you have an understanding about what to pay attention to. So we're going to scroll a little further along and talk about the signs. Okay. Signs and symptoms of bipolar disorder may overlap with symptoms of other disorders that are common in young people, such as attention deficit hyperactive disorder. We talked about ADHD last week, conduct problems, major depression, and anxiety disorders. Diagnosing bipolar can be complicated and require careful and thorough evaluation by a trained, experienced mental health physician. And I talk about the support yet again. Support. Information resources is needed to educate yourself about these different things and behaviors that you see. This is serious, everybody. With treatment, children and teens with bipolar disorder can maintain their symptoms and lead a successful life. So, what causes bipolar disorder? So, here's some of the examples here. Resources are beginning to uncover generic mechanical that are linked to bipolar disorders and other mental disorders. Resources show that people change chances of having bipolar disorder is higher if they have close family members with this illness, which may be because they have had some generic variables. However, just because one family member has bipolar does not mean that other members of the family will have it. Many genes are involved in the disorder, and no single gene causes it. Resources also suggest that adverse trauma, stressful life events may increase the chances of developing bipolar disorder in people with a genetic risk of having the illness. Some resources have found difference in brain structures and function between people who have bipolar disorder and those who do not. Resources are studying the disorder to learn more about its cause and effect treatment. So what we see here is basically clear-cut evidence is saying it's basically generic. Genetic, and how it happened against one family member who may have it, but if the rest of the family members may not have it. So now we're going to get on and talk about what are the symptoms of bipolar disorder. Mood episodes. And bipolar disorder includes intense emotions along with significant changes in sleep habits, activity levels, thoughts, or behavior. A person with bipolar disorder may have a maniac episode, which we kind of talked about up top, and have a depressive episode, and then mix it in. So basically, you go from maniac episode to depressive episode, and mix match mean they're both tying in together. That means the maniac and depressive symptoms are basically fighting each other, so you don't know what you're about to experience. So you get in a maniac episode, and then you get a depressive episode, and yeah, they're mixed up together, and it's like a mess. These mood episodes cause that often last for several days or weeks. During the episode, the symptoms last every day for most of the day. These moods and activities change are very different from the children's usual behavior and from the behavior of healthy children and teens. So many episodes showing intense happiness or silliness for a long period of time, having a very short temper or extremely irritable, talk fast about a lot of different things, have trouble sleeping but not feel tired, have trouble staying focused and experiencing racing thoughts, seem overlappingly interested or involved in pursuing but risky activity, do risky or reckless things that show poor judgment. So that's the maniac episode. So it's giving you clear evidence about the symptoms you should be aware of. There's probably many more besides the ones that are right here on the screen, but these are the ones that are shared on this particular site. Depressive episodes mean feeling fragrant or unprovoked sadness, show increased irritable, anger, or hostility, complain a lot about pain such as stomach ache and headache, have noticeable increased amount of sleep, have difficult concentrating, feel hopeless and worthless, have difficult communicating or maintaining relationship, eats too much or too little, have little energy and no interest in activity they usually enjoy, think about death or have thoughts of suicide. So that's the depressive episode of bipolar disorder, everybody. So you got the maniac episode, and the depressive one. Can children and teens with bipolar disorder have other problems? Young people with bipolar disorders can have several problems at the same time. This includes misuse of alcohol, drugs, attention deficit, which is ADHD, and anxiety disorders. So they have other things that are going on tied into bipolar. So they have bipolar issues, and then they have these other disorders that's kind of attached to them. So sometimes extreme behavior goes along with mood swings. During many episodes, young people with bipolar disorders may take extreme risks that they wouldn't usually take or that could cause harm or injury. During depressive episodes, some young people with disorder bipolar may think about running away from home or having thoughts of suicide. Mm, 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 mm. If your child signs of suicide thinking, take these signs seriously and call your child's healthcare provider. It's what it is. It's eatable. Okay. If you think your child is in crisis and need immediate help, call 911. You can also call the National Suicide Prevention Line at 1-800-273-TALK 8255 or text crisis text line. Text hello to 741-741. The deaf and hearing of hearing and contact the life TTY at 1-800-799-4889. These services are confidential, free, and available 24 hours a day. Okay, everybody. So now it talks about how is a bipolar disorder diagnosis, going to a health provider, and you have an evaluation. And the evaluation basically talks about, hey, and it gives you a checklist. It's just like when you go in for like assessment for asthma, diabetes, or any of the other conditions, and you're basically getting an evaluation about is your child doing this and all these signs that you're seeing within your child. And as the doctor goes through the checklist and come with a score, then he or she will kind of go over some of the things that they feel that you need to know and how to give you resources and how to give you support along with that. And these evaluations are very informative and they'll give you awareness about what's really going on. Okay. So the next part talks about how bipolar disorder treatment, medication. Always tell your child's health provider about any problems with side effects. Psychological therapy, so medication, talking to your health provider, as well as psychological therapy, seeking counseling, family counseling, individual counseling for the child, all these different things. It talks about conjugal behavior, approaching with family focusing therapy. So like I said, support, support, support. Very important when you have these elements going on in your home with your family. It's a lot to trigger on by yourself. Don't sit here and be Superman and Superwoman talking about, hey, I got this. No, don't do that to yourself because you're gonna drive yourself completely insane. You really are. I'm gonna tell you why. Because if you do it all by yourself without support, it's gonna trigger you to have more anger, more frustration, more everything. When you reach out and just ask questions, reach out and get help. And I know a lot of times by situations that are happening in our lives, it's hard to really truly understand who's really for you and who really wants to help you get through that. And when you finally can sit down with somebody, because it could take a lot of different channels and directions for you to get the kind of help that you need. And when you do finally get it, be grateful because you went through so much. And when you went through so much, you find that hey, this person didn't want to hear this and think this, and you go through that. A lot of parents hey have difficulties trying to find that support or get that help, and I can understand that completely because it is a very mind-boggling situation, ladies and gentlemen. It's not like, oh, I press a button, I can get this, or I press this button, I can get that. Some people go through it when it goes through dealing with autism and bipolar disease and asthma and diabetes, all these different things. But when the moment you find help, the support that you're looking for, and point in the correct direction, you will be surprised what you find out. And the things that you were not informed about or aware about simply by being connected to those who were just giving you part of the story. You need to get the whole story about this because it's a must. Okay. All right. How can I help my child or teenager? Be that voice, be that listening ear, be there and just help them through it. It's challenging, it's hard, it's difficult, it's not going to be easy. Nothing about it's not going to be easy. It's not like putting a cake in the oven or making a special meal or going to build, I guess, a special project that you may want to entail. It's not easy. It doesn't look easy. It's not as easy as it looks. Taking these steps, taking these techniques, taking these advices takes a long time getting to where you're getting to. And even though you're learning, you're still learning. And when I say you're still learning, you're still in learning about the disease or disorder and learning so much about stuff you weren't aware of and taking good notes and having the brochures to help you and getting on the support lines are helping you and just opening up about your feelings. That's really what it's all about. Opening up and being honest. And most would say, remarkable, I've had the experience where I was open, I was being honest, but I had a bad experience where things went sour or the insurance wasn't right and I had a mess going on and I didn't know where to turn and I didn't want to go. This is where research takes in. Most people's like, oh, remarkable, I'm not big at doing research. Research. Sometimes you got to step out of your comfort zone and do a lot of research and go outside your home zone to find people to give you what you really need. Yes, you really have to find people out there outside of where you may stay or wherever you may be. And in your town, you really have to do stuff that is absolutely out of your comfort zone. And you have to fight. And a lot of people don't have that motivation or determination to fight because it's so overwhelming to really deal with these things. It's very overwhelming, ladies and gentlemen. Very overwhelming, very, very overwhelming, very discouraging, very, very discouraging. It's a lot. So the next concept we're going to talk about is how does bipolar disorder affect caregivers and family? And I talked about a little bit this regarding autism, like the same effect. It's stressful for the parents and the family and the loved ones because they're coping with their child's behavior and mood swings. And how do they do with that? Self-care. 5, 10, 15 minutes. Do this for yourself. It is very important. And I don't stress that very enough. You got to do it. It's no, I'm going to put it away. No, you have to do it because if you don't, you're going to have a major outburst. And everybody in the house going to feel it. Everybody in the house going to see it. Everybody going to get whiff of it. The child who's dealing with it, with their struggling and their issue gonna feel it. You gonna feel it. Everybody gonna feel it. The dogs, the cats, birds, chickens, all of them gonna feel it. They gonna feel it and gonna run because you consume that stuff so much that you couldn't take no more. Releasing that anger and frustration out. Self care. Take time for yourself. You have to. It is a must. You're only human, and you can only tolerate so much. But that ticking time thing gonna go, and you ready to snap because you didn't take time to check in with you. Okay. So the next point on this is going to talk about where do I get help? Family health cares, outsourced resources, psychology, all these different things. Research, 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 everybody. And two, if you're not personally going through this or have family members going through it, if you know somebody like a friend or somebody you may have been introduced to or met out there and you know they're going through this, give them the research. Give them the information. Give them the information. Take 2, 5, 6, whatever minutes you gotta have, look up the information, give it to them, help them out. You just never know what people may be going through. You just never know by you saving their life from a catastrophe. You have blessed their lives by allowing that information that you have to be shared to other people. You spared their life because you noticed there was a problem. You didn't just say, oh, okay, this is what's going on. Okay, cool. No, you really paid attention to what was really going on. You really looked deep, 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 deep. See, when a person open their mouth and talking to you, they're seeking for help. If you can't pick up on that or you just kind of just rushing because you had other stuff to do, this is the time now where you have to be vigilant and listen very carefully on how to do it. If you know of some type of resource, give it to them. As long as you try to help them, it may be something that can benefit them and get them in the right direction. If it's not the right organization, the organization can get them to somebody that can help them. But at least you tried. And that's all you can do is try. When you try, things start to move swiftly. Now here it talks about what should I know about clinical trials. So they have clinical trials and a lot of these different things. So if you have seen emails or how do I say emails or advertisements on TV or get things in your mailbox about these different clinical trials, do your homework, do your research, and see what it looks like. Homework, research, Search it up, self-educate yourself before you get involved with clinical research trials. Okay, look at all the fine print, raw the fine print at the bottom, read everything thoroughly, ask questions during the clinical trial, I guess evaluation to see what that fit for your child. Answer these questions, answer these questions, answer these questions. Now I'm gonna flip it. Sometimes you're putting in a state where you don't have the time to think about it, or you don't have the time to do research. You're just going to act on it and hope for the best. In some scenarios, that happens in a lot of people's cases where they just jump to the gun and hoping that the clinical trial works because they're running out of time, or it's just something that they have to do and they didn't have no time to think about it because it can be a dire situation that it was emergency 911 or 411 or 201 where they had to rush into something. But in that scenario, that's a whole nother conversation there. But if you have the time and you have more space to do that, by all means, take as much time as you need, but do it in a diligent time frame. That way, you get all the information and take time for those who do have the time to look up this stuff and get all the information that you need to say, okay, I want to take a chance in seeing what this may do for my child. I want to see what this does. I'm very interested in what this looks like. So as I get through sharing my screen with everybody, I want you to understand that the information that I shared today is very, very informative. Okay, so I got two more things I want to talk about. I want to talk about COVID-19's, and I want to talk about the vaccine they just released about a week ago for the ages 12 through 17 years of age. So as you know, COVID-19 has been around almost about a year and some months now, and a lot of kids have returned back to brick and mortar schools, and a lot of them have gotten their vaccines. And the vaccine that they're offering the kids is the Pfizer vaccine. So, with that being said, a lot of parents are unsure about what the vaccine does. I'm going to talk to you and be completely transparent with you. Okay? If you are unsure about what the vaccine does, look up Pfizer. Let that vaccine information sinks in. Look up what Pfizer is. Look what it had. Look at what's all involved in it. Look up where it comes from, how it's manufactured, what are some of the side effects that you'll get through that, and see would that be a good fit for your child. Okay. And I'm telling you this why? Because you are an advocate for your child, for those who are guardians, parents, or caregivers of children. Do the resource for yourself. Yes, it's okay to hear other people talk about it, but you have to do what's best for your family. And what you do what's best for your family can give you a better understanding. So for the vaccine for the 12-year-old and 17-year-olds, make sure when you are taking them to get vaccine, make sure you look at all the answers and questions that they're asking you during the vaccine. So if you know your son or your daughter has a real allergic reaction to certain things, I wouldn't recommend getting the vaccine. I'm just saying, because you don't want your child to have other issues along with other things that they're going through. I'm just being transparent now. Now, if you know your child have other things, but you know in the back of your mind, okay, I want my child to have this vaccine, and I want to make sure my child fully vaccinated. It's your call. So I'm giving you two scenarios to look at. If you know it's not a good fit for you or your child, don't do it. If you don't have any history of any type of allergic reaction to any of these different vaccines, okay. It's like playing tennis. Dog if I do, dog if I don't. I'm throwing the ball over the net. Will the ball go back over the net? That's the kind of situation that you're dealing with. I'm not telling you you should do it. I'm not telling you shouldn't do it. The choice is up to you, but in the day. But I encourage you to do homework, research, and find out what's in the vaccine shot. If you, as a parent, guardian, or a caregiver, are not very comfortable in doing it, by all means, don't do it. For those kids who are going back to book and board, make sure that your child is mentally and stable to get ready to go back to be around other kids. Get a lot of resources, look at a lot of videos, ask a lot of questions, be the advocate for your child, caregiver. Speak to them, get that one on one conversation, sit down with your children and explain to them what's about to happen and what's about to go on. And explain to them, say, hey, son, daughter, or if you have multiple kids, this is what's going to be happening. You'll be returning back to school. And two, if you don't feel like returning your kids back to school because the schools are putting back in, there's alternative things out there where you can have your child continue to go through homeschool. You just have to look through your local states to see what kind of services they offer to continue to have your child homeschool. And the services that they're offering will be beneficiary. It may help, it may not help, but you have to ask these different questions, ladies and gentlemen, in order to get the answer. And sometimes you get the runaround. You know how to run around where they give you one answer, then turn around and give you another answer. We all know how that goes. You get the runaround and not getting a direct answer. Go to the horse's mouth. Go straight to the school board of your state, county, city, and get the answers that you want. You'll be surprised when you get connected with the right person after you got to getting them run around 10,000, 50,000 times. Email, call, text, just get it. Like remarkable. I'm not good at speaking to people. Get connected with somebody at your school that could connect you with the right people to kind of be an advocate for you. It's a lot of different things a lot of parents don't feel comfortable doing or don't feel comfortable articulating or they may not have the courage to do so. Speak with somebody you trust or feel comfortable to kind of help you down that path or give you the steps in the right direction to help you get the best educational tools for your child in terms of helping them mentally and helping them get back to a place where they understand that, hey, my mama, my daddy, my guardian, my caregiver wants what's best for me. So that goes with the vaccine. So you choose to take the vaccine. Hey, if you don't choose, it's your choice. It's a choice. If you don't feel comfortable, don't do it. If it's telling you the back of mind, don't do it. 9 times out of 10, be very transparent. Don't do it. Most people say, I highly recommend it. Everybody's situation may be different. You don't know what this person is going through. You don't know what this parent is going through. You don't know what they're facing. You give people options and let them have the choice to figure out which best direction suits their family and their household. Never tell a man or a woman or a parent or a guardian what they should do. Give them a choice to make their own decision what they need to do what's best for their home. We can make suggestions, we can encourage them to do it, but at the end of the day, they have to live with the decision you make. And if they choose to go that direction, hey, that's perfectly fine. With that being said, everybody, I'm getting ready to sign off. I hope you all enjoyed this webinar today. I will create the flyer later on this afternoon. It'll probably be up for 8 p.m. this evening. I love you all. Have an amazing and a blessed Throwback Thursday. I will see you all back here on Sunday at 8:45 a.m. to wrap up the series entitled Give Me Hope to Survive. We'll be in the book of Joel chapter 3. All right, everybody. This is Remarkable, Queen of Inspiration. Love you. Take care. Have a good one.